Greetings, dear beloved saints. Chapter 6 begins with the Lamb, who is Jesus Christ, opening the first seal of the scroll. John saw one of the four living beings saying in a thunderous voice, "Come." There were a white horse and its rider holding a bowl. A crown was given to the rider, and he goes forth conquering the nations. Now the second seal is broken by Jesus. John hears the second living being saying, "Come." Another horse goes forward, and his color is red. A great sword was given to the rider of the red horse. The red horse rider took peace from the earth so that people would slay one another. Jesus opened the third seal. John heard the third living being saying, "Come." A black horse appeared with a rider, and he was holding a pair of scales in his hand. John heard a voice from the middle of place where the four living beings were, and they say, "A chronics of wheat for a denarius." This means a common worker's wage of an entire day is worth only a liter of wheat. Then another voice was heard, and it said, "3 chronices of barley for a denarius." This means a loaf of bread was being priced at a whole day's work of a common laborer. Therefore, the black horse caused very high inflation, and the money was worthless. Then a voice commanded the rider of the black horse not to harm the oil and the wine. Apostle John then saw Jesus opening the fourth seal. The voice of the fourth living being said, "Come." John saw a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death. Hades, which is a temporary hell under the surface of the earth for the dead non-believing souls, was following behind the pale horse and its rider. The rider of the pale horse was given an authority to kill 1/4 of the earth with sword, famine, and death, and by the wild beasts of the earth. The 4 horses and their riders, in my opinion, represented 4 archangels among the fallen angels of Satan. These 4 fallen angels are antithesis of the 4 living beings who were the 4 highest rank archangels of God in heaven. Satan used these 4 fallen angels throughout history to influence the world leaders like Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, and Hitler to conquest the world through wars and to kill millions of people and cause high inflation and poverty. They also caused the death of millions upon millions of people. Jesus now opened the 5th seal. John saw the souls of the slain believers under an altar in heaven. Altar was a big square, hollow, open grill used to burn animal sacrifices by the Israelites. The size of an altar on earth during the period of Moses was around 7.5 feet by 7.5 feet with 4.5 feet in height. But the altar in heaven was much larger, for it was big enough to have multiple thousands or perhaps millions of martyr souls underneath it. These slain martyrs were killed because they held onto God's word and the testimony of faith in Jesus Christ. The slain martyrs cried out to God the Father in a very loud voice, "Master, the Holy One and the True One, when are you going to judge and avenge our blood from the ones who killed us, who are living on the earth?" A white robe was given to the martyrs, and they were told to wait a little longer until a complete number of their fellow slaves, the ones who are ministers of God, and their brothers who are lay people, also get killed and become martyrs. The book of Revelation is primarily about God's wrath and judgment upon those who persecuted and killed Christians. It is not about God's punishment upon the entire earth. Apostle John now saw Jesus break open the 6th seal. A great earthquake took place, and the sun turned black, and the whole moon looked like blood. The stars in the sky fell to the earth like a fig tree shaken by a great wind that cast unripe figs. The falling stars which Apostle John saw were air missiles, since even a star falling upon the earth can destroy the entire planet. The sky split apart like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. John then saw the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the military leaders, and the rich man, and the strong man, and both the slave and the free, hiding themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains. They were evildoers of the nations that killed Christians. They say to the mountains and the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of the one sitting on the throne, who is God the Father, and from the wrath of the Lamb, who is Jesus Christ." They said this because the day of God's wrath upon them had come, and no one could stand facing the wrath of God. In my opinion, John just described what happened during the World War I and World War II, because what follows is a great number of Jews becoming Christians, which has not happened yet. Millions of Jews and Christians were killed by Hitler and Japanese Emperor Hirohito during the World War II. U.S. and its allied forces bombed Germany to ashes, and the atomic bombs crushed Japan and ended the war. God's wrath was poured out on Germany and Japan, who killed millions of Jews and Christians. This brings us to the end of chapter 6 of the book of Revelation.